From translation, RSV, Revised Standard Version. This 255 day of the year. Today we are reading passages Ezekiel 40 to 42. Ezekiel chapter 40, verses 1 to 49. In the 25th year of our exile, at the beginning of the year, on the 10th day of the month, in the 14th year after the city was struck down, on this very day, the hand of the Lord was upon me, and he brought me to this place. In visions of God, he brought me to the land of Israel, and set me down upon a very high mountain, on which was a structure, like a city, to the south. When he brought me there, behold, there was a man whose appearance was like bronze, with a line of flax and a measuring rod in his hand. And he was standing in the gateway. And the man said to me, Son of man, behold with your eyes, and hear with your ears, and set your mind upon all that I shall show you. For you were brought here in order that I might show it to you. Declare all that you see to the house of Israel. And behold, there was a wall all around the outside of the temple area. And the length of the measuring rod in the man's hand was 6 long cubits, each being a cubit and a handbreadth in length. So he measured the thickness of the wall, 1 rod, and the height, 1 rod. Then he went to the gateway which faced east, and went up its steps, and measured the threshold of the gate, 1 rod in width, and the other threshold of the gate, 1 rod in width, and the side rooms, 3 on this side, and 3 on that. And there were 3 jambs on this side, and 3 on that. And all around it was a ledge, and it was over against the inner court. And the ledges of it were made of palm trees. He measured also the vestibule of the gateway, on the inside, 1 rod. Then he measured the entrance hall of the gate, 8 cubits, and its jambs, 2 cubits. And the entrance hall of the gate was at the inner end. And there were 3 side rooms on this side and 3 on that side of the gate. And the side rooms on both sides had the same measurements, and the jambs on both sides had the same measurements. He measured the width of the opening of the gate, 10 cubits, and the width of the gate, 13 cubits. There was a boundary before the side rooms, 1 cubit on either side, and the side rooms were 6 cubits on either side. Then he measured the gate from the roof of one side room to the roof of the other, a breadth of 25 cubits from one opening to the opposite one. He measured also the court, 100 cubits square, and the gate was before the temple, 3 sides of it. And from before the gateway of the entrance to before the vestibule of the inner gate there were 50 cubits. And there were narrow windows to the side rooms, and to their jambs, inward facing, all around. And there were palm trees on the jambs. Then he brought me into the outer court, and behold, there were chambers and a pavement all around it, and there were 30 chambers facing the pavement. And the pavement was along the side of the gates, corresponding to the length of the gates. This was the lower pavement. Then he measured the distance from the front of the lower gate to the front of the inner court, 100 cubits, on the east and on the north. And the gate which faces the way to the east. From the outer court he opened for me, and behold, the glory of the Lord of Israel was coming from the way of the east. The gate had 3 side rooms on each side, and they all had jambs and vestibules like the others. The measurements of it were the same as those of the others, 50 cubits long and 25 cubits wide. And their windows and their vestibules and their palm trees were like those of the other gate which faced the east. And there were 7 steps leading up to it, and its vestibule was on the inside. The chamber and its entrances were under the jamb of this gate, and there were windows on them, like the windows of the others. The gate was 50 cubits long and 25 cubits wide. And he led me toward the south, and behold, there was a gate on the south. And he measured its jambs and its vestibule. They had the same measurements as the others. There were windows all around it, and its vestibule was like the vestibule of the others. The gate was 50 cubits long and 25 cubits wide. And there were 7 steps leading up to it, and its vestibule was on the inside. And it had palm trees on its jambs, one on either side. The court also had a gate to the south. And he measured from gate to gate toward the south, 100 cubits. Then he brought me to the inner court by the south gate, and he measured the south gate. It was built according to these measurements. Its side rooms, its jambs, and its vestibule were of the same measurements as the others, and there were windows all around it and its vestibule. The measurements were 50 cubits long and 25 cubits wide. And there were vestibules all around, 25 cubits long and 5 cubits wide. Its vestibule faced the outer court. And there were palm trees on its jambs, and 8 steps led up to it. Then he brought me to the inner court on the east side, and he measured the gate. It was built according to these measurements. Its side rooms, its jambs, and its vestibule were of the same measurements as the others. And there were windows all around it and its vestibule. The measurements were 50 cubits long and 25 cubits wide. Its vestibule faced the outer court, and there were palm trees on its jambs on either side, and 8 steps led up to it. And he brought me to the north gate, and he measured it. It was built according to these measurements. Its side rooms, its jambs, and its vestibule were of the same measurements as the others. It had 5 steps. Its vestibule faced the inner court, and there were palm trees on its jambs on either side. The chamber and its entries were under the jamb of this gate, and its windows, like the windows of the others, were 50 cubits long and 25 cubits wide. There was a chamber with its door in the vestibule of the gate. There they washed the burnt offering. And in the vestibule of the gate there were 2 tables on this side and 2 tables on that side of the gate on which to slay the burnt offering, the sin offering, and the guilt offering. And on the side outside the entrance by the north gate were 2 tables, and on the other side, which was before the vestibule of the gate, there were 2 tables. So there were 4 tables inside the gate, and 4 tables outside the gate, 8 tables on which the sacrifices were to be slain. And there were 4 tables of hewn stone for the preparation of the burnt offering, 1.5 cubits long, 1.5 cubits wide, and 1 cubit high, on which the instruments were laid with which the burnt offering and the sacrifice were slaughtered, and hooks, a handbreadth in length, were fastened round about within, and upon the tables was the flesh of the sacrifices. Then he brought me back to the outer court, and behold, there were chambers and a pavement laid out all around the court. 30 chambers faced the pavement, and the pavement was along the side of the gates, corresponding to the length of the gates. This was the lower pavement. The side rooms facing the court were 76 cubits long and 12 cubits wide. One corner had dimensions of 76 cubits long and 12 cubits wide. And the court had also a gate facing the east. And he measured from gate to gate toward the east 150 cubits. Then he brought me to the vestibule of the temple, and measured the jambs of the vestibule, 5 cubits on this side, and 5 cubits on that. The vestibule was 20 cubits long and 20 cubits wide. And the man said to me, "This is the holy place." Then he led me to the gate that faces the north. Ezekiel chapter 41, verses 1 to 26. Then I saw the man brought me to the entrance of the nave, and measured the jambs. They were 6 cubits wide on either side. And the breadth of the entrance was 10 cubits, and the side walls of the entrance were 5 cubits on either side. And he measured its length, 40 cubits, and its breadth, 20 cubits. Then he went into the inner room and measured the jambs of the entrance, 2 cubits, and the entrance 6 cubits, and the width of the entrance 7 cubits. And he measured its length, 20 cubits, and its breadth, 20 cubits, before the nave. And he said to me, "This is the most holy place." Then he measured the wall of the temple, 6 cubits thick, and the breadth of the side chambers, 4 cubits, round about the temple. And the side chambers were in 3 stories, band on band, 30 in each story. There were offsets in the wall of the temple for the side chambers, so that they shared a wall with the temple. And there was a broad place on either side round about. Ascending to the upper stories was a winding staircase, and thus one ascended from the lowest story to the topmost story. I saw also that the temple had a raised platform all around. The foundations of the side chambers measured 1 reed from the floor to the top. The thickness of the outer wall was 5 cubits, and the breadth of the space between the side chambers and the wall that was left around the temple was 6 cubits. And between the chambers and the court there was a width of 20 cubits all around the temple. And the side chambers had doors to the court, 50 cubits long and 20 cubits wide. And before the side chambers there was an open space, 10 cubits wide and 100 cubits long. And their doors were toward the north. And the east side of the temple had side chambers 50 cubits wide and 100 cubits long. And the open space before them was also 100 cubits long. And from the front of the temple the nets extended 80 cubits on the north side. And on the south side the length of the chambers 50 cubits and 10 cubits before them. And there were offsets in the front of them, like offsets in front of the whole place, all around. And there was an entrance from the east, and there were 5 ascending steps, and before them 7 steps, but inside there was an entablature. And there were sills of muddy running stone from side to side in front of the entrance. And there was the gate of the inner court facing east, and he measured from gate to gate toward the east 100 cubits. And he measured the length and breadth of the gate of the inner court which faced the east. And the gate of the inner court was opposite the gate toward the north and toward the east. And he measured from gate to gate 100 cubits. And he brought me to the court, and he measured the court. It was a square, 100 cubits long and 100 cubits wide. And there was a gate to the inner court before it on the north, like the gate on the east. And he measured from gate to gate 100 cubits. And he led me toward the south. And there was this gate on the south. And he measured its jambs and its vestibule. They had the same measurements as the others. And there were windows round about it and its vestibule, like the windows round about the others. Its length was 50 cubits, and its breadth was 25 cubits. And there were 7 steps leading to it. And it had a vestibule in front of them. And it had palm trees on its jambs, 1 on either side. Ezekiel chapter 42, verses 1 to 16. Then he led me out into the outer court, toward the north, and he brought me to the chambers that were opposite the temple courtyard, and opposite the wall toward the north. The length of the building whose door faced north was 100 cubits, and the breadth 50 cubits.